Good?
That's good.
Okay. So I actually wrote down some notes because I gave it a lot of thought, what I wanted to say today. But before I do too much speaking, I'd like to honor the spiritual and meditative aspect of the work that we all do, and ask you to close your eyes for a minute. And the only suggestion I want to make is to sit, continue to breathe, and enter into the most peaceful place that you can enter into within yourself. Or think of a place where you experience peace. So about closing the eyes, I just want to read a little quote from a Western philosopher, Plotinus, who said, "We need to close our eyes and invoke a new manner of seeing, a wakefulness that is the birthright of us all." So sometimes we need to close our eyes in order to see. And so I did a lot of soul searching after I got this award. I felt very grateful and humble and surprised. And I want to thank FOR, not just for that though, I want to thank FOR for being here. It is really a jewel in our midst. And I personally had no real connection to it prior to coming to Nyack, as in the little story that Mark told. But very quickly was directed to it, and have appreciated not only what they're doing, but the more I've looked into it, what they've done. I never realized until recently that this organization, which I knew was getting close to being 100 years old, and started by a group of spiritual, religious people from different nations, that were going to go to war, trying to avert that, trying to come to a reconciliation of souls. And they were instrumental in starting the ACLU. Did you know that? Amazing work that's been done over the years, and beautiful people that have come through and been involved with it. So I would encourage you to check, in addition to, you know, what Jim said, supporting it, giving money, learn about it. Read what's on their website, www.forusa.org. Wonderful stuff. Including, after I got this award, I wanted to give something back, and the two things that came to me immediately were, well, I'll start a blog devoted to the theme that I'm most interested in, and that I have I'll be speaking about a little bit now, which is how we bring together in our lives being on a spiritual path and being an activist, or being involved somehow, relating somehow, actively engaged with the issues of the world, the politics, the social change, and so forth. So I started that blog, and the other thing was I put out a seed, which I want to put a little water on right now, which is that sometime in the near future, maybe this spring, maybe next fall, to have a full day music, very much like the healthcare rally that we did, but a whole day. Music, multiracial, multi-ethnic bands, and speakers and platforms for all the progressive groups of all the different issues that are involved. Important that it be multi-racial, multi-ethnic. I think that that's a serious direction we have to move in our movement. So, some thoughts. about peace. So the first thing that I meditated on and tried to ask myself was, well, what is peace? And how do we go about, what does it mean to be a peacemaker, peace worker, peace activist? What does that actually mean? What are we doing? And I realized that there are those who are more prone to the activist mode. That is, that see the world, the horrors of what's going on in the world, the wars, the injustice that leads to war and violence, and want to change things, want to move things around, want to change systems, want to change the way countries act and organizations behave and people relate to each other, want to change legislation and so forth. And this is such important work. At the same time, what's often missing in the activist mode or lifestyle is a directed awareness into what's going on inside themselves, very often, which can lead to one burnout, or it can lead to not being very effective as a peacemaker, actually, which is why we see so many of the peace organizations, the leftist organizations, the progressive organizations, fighting with each other, because that inner work is often neglected. And on the other hand, we have the direction of going inward, of seeking peace within, meditating, chanting, praying for peace. And what's often missing here, something is missing often here, and that is that, well, to put it in a one kind of way, is that if you try to meditate for peace, or meditate your way into peace in a burning house, you're probably going to have a problem. And that's really the situation that we're in right now. The house is burning. We have climate change. We have an energy crisis that is likely to lead to a great deal of social breakdown, systemic breakdown. And unless we relate both to that inner peace-seeking and find ourselves engaged in what is around us, we lose a sense of balance, and we even lose a sense of our inner peace. I don't think you can meditate anymore into peace without being right with the world. And so what I've come to is that what I call peace now is a process that we experience when our inner world is in harmony with, or in right relationship with, what's going on in the outer world. And as we expand the depth of our inner world, we are drawn to experience more and more our connectedness with all life, and we're drawn to extend our attention to more and more of what's going on the planet. So how about right now? Right now, if I asked you all to think of when was the time that you most experienced peace? You probably think of a place that you were, maybe the woods, or maybe somewhere in nature. But where is that experience really? That experience happens inside you. Experience happens inside you, and no matter where it is that it occurs, it's a feeling that we have. And unless we do the inner work to reduce the conflicts that we have inside us, we're unable to open to that feeling, even in the most beautiful place. How many of you have been to beautiful places, and because maybe you were in a fight with the person you're in a relationship with, just was a great big draft, right? You didn't, you're looking around and saying, oh, this is so beautiful, so why can't I experience it? We've got to be right inside ourselves. And so I want to offer 3 of probably many inner conflicts that we have to face and that we have to deal with in a very experiential way. One is probably the root of it all, the war between the man and the woman. I think we all have to realize and face that the millennial-old struggle of men versus women and the male principle versus the feminine principle is at the root of much of the dis-ease on the planet and inside ourselves. Men have been dominating women for thousands of years, brought us to the brink of extinction, and women are pissed. Makes sense. That we have to look at that inside ourselves. How's that at work inside you? How's that inside work in me? The second one is the war that's going on, the conflict that's going on between the human and nature. Okay? The idea that humans are separate from nature, what my Vision Quest guide Stephen Foster used to call the big lie. That humans are separate from and better than nature is something that we've all been taught. Now all of these things, these inner things that I'm talking about, everybody here knows aren't true, or feels like, you know, okay, that's other people that think that. But I think we have to really look inside ourselves and see the degree to which our own addictions to comfort are part of this separation from nature. And the third is the conflict, war between the mind and the heart. And again, as civilizations have evolved or developed, devolved, whichever way you look at it, the intellectual, rational, and linear mind has come to be the only one that's given respect in our educational system and in the media essentially. And the heart and the intuitive is essentially relegated down to a lesser, if it's acknowledged at all, that kind of intelligence. And so the work inside us to heal the heart-mind, to heal the separation between that which in us considers ourselves human and that which is nature, human nature, bringing those two together and the healing within of the male and the female. So this is essentially not a theory, it's a suggestion for therapeutic spiritual work. Practices that come down to us from our ancestors, from all the traditions, speak to these issues and give us methods and ways of working on it. And so I feel like I'm urging people to just consider that. I know many of you are already looking at things in that way, but to seriously engage these questions, because it's what will make us better, not only for ourselves, but as people who are involved in organizations working for ecological sanity, peace, justice, and so forth. So 2 additional things that I just wanted to share. One is that being a peacemaker doesn't mean being neutral in the conflicts, where one side of the conflict, and in all of the ones that I've mentioned, it has been, one side has come to be in dominance. It behooves us to lift up and take the side of that which is being abused. And this is true not only in these very three ancient global planetary consciousness conflicts, but even down to the very real, or they're not less, the others aren't not real, but the very issues that we face right now that are alive for us. The American Civil Rights Movement, the anti-apartheid movement, these were conflicts. It wasn't appropriate for the peace movement to be neutral in these. The Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory. There's a solidarity with the side that's being dominated. That needs to be, that I think that force of peace, that is that integration, that is that blending of, or process that comes out of an inner orientation of right relationship with what we're facing in the outer world. That force of peace tells us to move in that direction, to support, to uplift the underdog. That's one point. The other point is that peace is not something, at least that I've found, that I can feel all the time. Peace is something that I can feel some of the time. And I have to be okay with that. And I have to be okay with the fact that it's a dynamic process where I can find a sense of peace and right relationship, and then I become aware of something else. And that stirs me. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me want to move and do something. And then find that peace again by being in right relationship. So the fact that it's sometimes, I want to quote by singing a song to you to end this. And Ginny's going to join me with guitar. And this comes from another philosopher that comes out of the African lineage and heritage, a fellow named Leadbelly. And basically what he tells us is the following. When you're driving along in your automobile, keep your hands on that wheel. Sometimes you got to relax your mind. Your mind, relax your mind, relax your mind. And it's going to make you feel so fine. Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. And when you see that light turn green, put your foot on that gasoline. Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. And when the light turns red, put your foot on the brake instead. Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. Now sing it. Relax your mind, relax your mind. It's gonna make you feel so fine. Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. Now when the light turns blue, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. Relax your mind, relax your mind. It's gonna make you feel so fine. Sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. Now when you're walking along with a picket sign, and they scream, "You commie pinko dirty slime," sometimes you got to relax your mind, your mind. Relax your mind, relax your mind. and you're gonna feel so fine. Sometimes
you got to relax your mind.